Well, what's very interesting about that right now is that as of last week, bond yields were offering a higher return than the S&P yields, which was the first time that happened, I think, in 22 years. So what that suggests really is either that we're having some kind of a preparation for economic growth or a preparation for inflation. And I think I like to look at it rather that way because the whole picture can change, obviously, based on what scenario emerges first, higher inflation or greater economic growth. Both would suggest that that is a good way to invest, and both would suggest that we're not necessarily going to see any dramatic decline of interest rates. So I think at this point, considering we're getting a whole new administration and a lot of hopefulness, we can have a little bit of both, and then we'll see exactly what rules. Are we going to expand more because of policies, or is it going to create a higher inflation also because of, or maybe in spite of, policies?
What is the big theme, to your mind, Michelle, that stands out on the back of the incoming administration? I mean, the latest that we've heard is that tax credits would be extended, or benefits would be extended for FSD, full self-driving vehicles. And obviously that's turning out to be a shot in the arm for Tesla. But how do you look at a key Trump trade at this point now that he is going to take office in January?
Well, we're certainly not going to have the status quo. I think everyone can agree on that. And also what's interesting, and we don't know how this will necessarily play out in the market yet, but there is such a tremendous divide of people who feel that things are going to be incredible and people who are really basically bracing for the worst. And so the questions are really going to be how quickly he can get things done that he has on the table and how effective or destructive they will be. So let's go through the major ones, right? Deregulation. Well, it's great to a certain degree, but at some point there has to be oversight. So what kind of balance does he find there? Same thing with lowering taxes. It's great, but we also have a huge amount of government spending and a huge amount of debt, and that would only put more people's money in people's pockets, which could be a good thing, but also could be an inflationary thing. I mean, we're also talking a little bit about these tariffs, right? So that's another one. Tariffs in and of itself are a tax and are inflationary, but it also could force a workaround with things eventually cooling down in the United States. So, if you go through all of it, deportation, I mean, that's another one that is so controversial because he's saying that if you take the illegal immigrants out, you'll see the costs come down, particularly in shelter. But at the same time, are the immigrants really the ones that have been driving the higher costs of shelter, especially when you find out the median age of home buyers now have gone up in the U.S. to 56. Yeah. So I think all of this has yet to play out. But we can see clearly that what he is directly talking about that you can invest in right now is skyrocketing. Tesla, you just mentioned. Bitcoin, obviously, being the big one. Yeah. And some of the stocks that have to do really with sort of maybe more of a reshoring in the United States, some of the manufacturing stocks.